Good morning, evening, or night. My name is Aqua, and I'm not doing an intro today. Um, it is late. It is too late. It's 10 p.m., and by the time I'm gonna finish editing this video, it's probably gonna be 1 a.m. And yeah, I don't wanna extend this editing process longer than it needs to be. But I'm here, trust me. I am continuing on Inktober. Hopefully this is not a pattern of me being late. It's only been like the second day. Kind of ridiculous. But life got ahead of me with work. But anywho, I wanted to talk to you guys about how I come up with my ideas. I'm not ashamed to admit that most of the ideas don't come from my mind exclusively. I am inspired by real life things and things I find on the internet, and I use that to drive my creativity. So for Inktober, for this particular day, I struggled with this word because I was like, what does wisp mean? It was not registering what this meant, and I went to Merriam-Webster, and that did not give me any more sort of insight than what I had already. Some of the definitions was like, it's a small strand, or it's like this fleeting thing. It's like, what does this mean? So as a result, I put this off to the very last minute. To kind of get used to Inktober, since I mentioned in my previous video, I've never done anything this consistent in regards to YouTube. I tried to brainstorm the month before, and this was like the last thing I wanted to brainstorm on. So I just left it. And I left it till yesterday. So here I am, posting a video at 1 a.m. because I was procrastinating. Yeah, so yesterday I went to Pinterest. Pinterest is like my favorite sort of social media besides Twitter. It really serves the same purpose as what I use Tumblr for, as a place to see random images, especially like fashion related stuff, and to gather inspiration from it. So I love it for that. And sometimes if you don't have a particular purpose, you could just scroll on the homepage and you'll definitely find something that suits your interests. I was kind of lost. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. I had the prompt, obviously, that was guiding or restraining the potential ideas I could come up with. And I also had this idea that I wanted to focus on surrealist and magical realist art because that's my favorite genres. So I was scrolling through, and in my house I have a statue of David, and I really like the idea of drawing something that looked sculptural. So I started looking at sculptures. I wanted to see like what black sculptures I could look at for inspiration, and I found something that I ended up not using, but it really planted the seed for where I was going to go next with this idea. From there, one of the common ideas in surrealism or magical realism is drawing folklore, and I really like the idea of drawing a giant or several giants and having the regular sized people being frightened of them. And that was when I started to get really excited about this day or this prompt. From there, I wanted something to sort of round out this idea, to really shape the story that I was depicting of this giant that is passive, but the people are afraid of this giant. I decided to come up with a background. As my name on YouTube suggests, I draw pretty faces. That is the main thing I draw, and I feel like sometimes I get too stuck in that. And I don't draw bodies, I don't draw landscapes, but landscapes are essential into creating a well-rounded story. So it was something I needed to explore. Since I'm on the cottagecore wave, uh, I wanted to depict a bucolic scene, and I was just reminded of looking at sheep, because I thought that would be like a very cute thing to draw next to these giants. And I found this photo. This photo reminded me of like the Highlands of Scotland, and I was really excited to get into it. And then from there, I wanted to create houses and found this image of this German village in Argentina and decided to depict that in the background. I didn't want things to be too distracting, so I decided to make it lighter. So from there, I felt like the idea was really being fleshed out to the point where I didn't need to research anymore. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but this process of brainstorming took me 2.5 hours. Near the end of it, I was just like so over it and I wanted to go to sleep. So the next morning, this morning, I decided to sketch things out. It took me probably an hour, not more than 2 hours, to sketch it out. I wanted to make sure that I have everything on the paper. I didn't want to be coming up with ideas while I was shooting the video, because sometimes I do get nervous when I'm shooting the video, and that hinders or sort of affects the final result of the painting. So I wanted to mitigate that by having my ideas already thought out prior. So as I mentioned, I wanted to draw the people who were like running away, but when I started to put pen to paper, I realized that that was not really the story I was trying to depict, and I pivoted towards these giants being benevolent and passive. Well, they were already passive, but just being not something to be feared. Through my previous years of art classes, I have a decent understanding of composition, so I knew that I wanted it to be balanced and have a bigger woman on the right and someone smaller, and having like sort of two parts on the left side, which is like the sheep and the sleeping woman. From there, I just ran with it. Sometimes you can have these drawings that happen purely by accident, and you're just purely moved to draw, and then you just come up with a great idea. Planning is such an important part of drawing. You need to consider the subjects. Are they too distracting? Do you need to edit? What other background elements, like the sheep or the German village, can portray this image or narrative that you're trying to portray? And what sort of stylistic elements do you want to include in your drawing? As I said, I wanted this to be very sculptural. Not sure if it came across in the final result, but that was the idea, and I feel like I stuck with it throughout. So those are my tips to come up with ideas and translate them to a painting. I was wondering, what tools do you guys use besides the real world to get inspiration? Especially with this quarantine, we're kind of limited in what things we can see. Our reality has been sort of narrowed by proximity. What things do you use for inspiration? Let me know in the comments down below. So here's the final drawing. I did some sketches underneath this tape, so the last step is just to erase it all. Thanks for watching to the end, and until next time, keep on drawing. Bye!